This is IBM Museum. Still have the 32-bit version of Windows Vista plugged in. I'm actually double stacked with the systems. I have the system I want to put the 64-bit version of Windows Vista on top. But I want to demonstrate some devices I use that are even easier than the CDR media I was talking about, where I go through and burn a CD recordable disk with all the drivers and everything else I retrieve online. And I'm going to go through and use the 32-bit version of Vista to retrieve those downloads. Bring up Firefox here. I'm still going through and looking up because, of course, I have this on the big screen above my desk. Now, one of the things that I want to pay attention to here as well, it's on the Windows Vista 32-bit selection. And since I'm going for also the 64-bit version of Windows Vista, I want to go through and check that as well. And I don't know if that'll go through and refresh or if I have to do that. Let's see if it gives us, and that's the same driver. I'll go through and I'll actually pause the system when I go through to download these files. See, there's the 64-bit version and the 32-bit version both listed. So I'm going to grab these and put these in their own directory structure on the devices I'm talking about. Let me show where that is. I'll actually go through and I'll bring up the SkyCam bigger just to be able to present that information. I should have lined that. Okay, we've got full screen SkyCam. I can probably leave the internal webcam here still up as well. But I'm talking about these, and you can see a lot of it from the back. You can see these docks. And I have a few of these around, a couple different locations. And they're from Masscool. They were pretty popular a number of years back. This is the one that actually has the media reader built into it. So you have additional USB ports. You've got the XD that I use for my Olympus camera. You've got SD media that you can plug in there, even compact flash. And I think this is like the real or less common one that I'm not really used to. I think that's, I forget what those cards are called. It even has the old smart card media that came out, I think originally goes in one that can go in one of these slots as well. But, and I think these media reader ports are only accessible, and they typically have, there's some that have the dual base. In fact, you can even find some with the IDE as well they're dual bay, and they have this little adjustment in there for getting the IDE connection in the right position. And I think a lot of time they even have a a little miniature adapter as well. And you can also get the USB versions of these that don't have the dock necessarily. Since SATA it's got the connections that are always in the same relative positions, and then they have a little insert you can drop in there to use the laptop SATA versions. In fact, and these are super thin anyway for the SSD drives. But on the back, and I don't know why, because these ThinkCentres do have the external SATA port on them, and I've got a eSATA cable in there as well, but I could not get these docks. And it may be the system. I mean, I have that external SATA port enabled in the configuration on that bottom unit, but it just doesn't want to see that thing on the SATA side. And the dock I'm actually using here, this doesn't have the media reader. This is just a hard drive version, just a SATA drive version. But you have the USB to fall back on. And you have to be really careful, because I've had one of these that this USB connection split from the PCB inside, and so I'm not able to use the USB on one of these I have somewhere tucked away, and I think I've reverted to using it with the and the one that just doesn't have the media reader also has that. But as I say, I think the media reader, this stuff, since that doesn't go over the eSATA connection, doesn't work. You've got to go from USB. And a lot of time I've seen where if you have the eSATA, a system that can recognize it and use it, and I have systems set up that way as well. If you have that connected and you go through and connect up the USB goes through and countermands the eSATA. So it treats the USB more as primary anyway. This is one of the older models, just like I have down here on the bench as well, that's actually plugged in with the drive. And it has a different power connection. It's got a multi-voltage power supply for those. And these are these... I don't know if it can be visible there, but it's they have their own little power packs, and I think the new ones have the same size of transformer as well, but they have a 12, just a standard 12 volt barrel power plug on the newer ones. They're a little bit nicer sometimes on the power supply needs for that. But these things are really handy. I mean, we talk about, I'm not talking as vintage systems now, but I've run these for a dozen years or more. They're nice little things to have around, and it's USB 2 even at that. Doesn't require anything USB 3 otherwise to use this on a system. I'm going to get back in front of the camera here, and I've got that system. I plan on loading the 64-bit version of Windows Vista on top, just for that we'll need to pop the hood and to put the memory and drive into that system. Let me go through the size. This back down. Let me just move it right there. And let me go through. So far we've got a little bit over 10 minutes. But I'll go through and I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna go through and download all these, and then unpack them, everything else just like so they're ready to use, and then to put them on that drive. And of course, when you plug in the USB for this drive, it brings up all the dialogues that you could go through and view. And you can see where I used this for storage in the past, even to the point where I've got video editor for Vista and video editor for XP. Some utility that I had at the time, maybe even backing up a hard drive of some sort. I'll have to check out what those are at some point later on with these Vista systems. And I'm still working on the XP system. The fan for this unit still has not come in. And even though UPS, I just saw them kind of running around late. Normally it'll inform me if I get something delivered. But I'm still waiting on the fan, and that might be a separate video. I'll just have to see. But you can see where I've gone through and used this for storage in the past with just as an easy way to connect on and to get a file on another system with USB. And USB 2, or you want to go into where it's recent enough. I mean, it is a storage device, but you don't need to be online or to be trying to get drivers for that as well. And that's nice to just plug it in and be able to pull up those items. So I'm going to go through. I will pause the video and then get all that unpacked, get it to where I can move it over to the drive. And then I have to see, granted I have enough time or think I can switch gears enough. I'll go through to start at least installing the hardware on that system, if not going through the next step of actually installing Vista on it. So I'll be back in just a moment. And just a little bit of an update as I go along. The BIOS update process can only be done from, in the Windows, can only be done from the 32-bit version. So I'm going to go through and grab this CD flash ISO image, and basically what I have to do there is make a CD recordable, just even with that little amount of contents, for being able to flash the other 64-bit system once I start working through things. And I've already gone through and created quite a bit of the structure here for the 32-bit and the 64-bit. But I'm still copying some files. And I also went through and grabbed the Firefox setup, and then there is a CD recording and authoring software as well. That's for burning the disk from the machines, and I think that's normally like Roxio or something like that. That's included for free when you go on those pages as a utility. So progressing through, but not quite done yet. Okay, I have enough of the structure of the drive in the dock created for the drivers I'm going to need on that 64-bit version of Windows Vista. And as long as I can get that system online, I'll probably come back at some later point to just grab everything for these systems and put it on that disk. There's quite a few utilities and some stuff that I'm sure that I don't need, but just in completeness and to be able to grab it for these models. I do have other ThinkCentre models I'll go through and put to the same drive as well, but I'm ready to start working on installing the hardware and then moving on to the Vista installation. And we're still at 60 minutes. So I'm going to progress on. We'll go through and get the SkyCam fired up, and I'll start putting in the components and just go from there. Okay, and I'm all set up here. I'm going to go through and power down the dock and the drive since it has a separate supply. And I'll just have to see how I work with my handset cord. Going through and opening up the unit. See how that looks on SkyCam. Oh yeah. Looks real good. And we will go through. Of course, here's the SSD drive. We'll go through. I'm going to get memory in there first. I'm pretty sure I don't have a static charge, but let me touch some components. And these are different colored. These are 2 gigabytes per DIMM. And I had previously pulled out the older memory with for putting on that other system as well. And just have to see. And these DIMM slots are color coded. I'll follow through and I'll just put the green in the green slots. That'll confuse somebody later on. They'll think that it has to be green DIMMs and the green. Save these holders in case I have any need to store any DIMMs later on. There's quite a bit of glare from the LED lights overhead, but not in the right places here. Well, for the center section, it's got some light, I guess. And all these latches are coming up as a seat. Okay. Put that over there. And then I have I just bought a whole bunch of spare SATA cables I have here from all sorts of lengths and everything else. This is a blister pack, so I'll have to see how. Not too bad. And that's just light and small. Incredible. And of course, they've got a little sticker over it not to open it up. There's the connections on the back. And I haven't decided. I was even thinking of, well, it doesn't quite fit there. And some of the, I was just even wondering to Velcro it in place under this drive, maybe. I don't know if I'd necessarily invent a carrier or anything like that. I mean, the SATA connections are right there. And then I have the, well, and that's the one thing I've got. It just has that one SATA power header here. I don't have any other power header. This little tiny power supply, except for being right there where they normally expect the full-size mechanical drive to be in the carrier. And that might be just a good, I might be able to reroute that, clip in wire ties and everything else, but it doesn't have the length. And I don't know if I want to go through and do any duplicate header there in the end, but it lots of room in here. And so I'm just going to get probably even the shortest, because I'd have the ability to go underneath that DVD drive if I wanted to with the SATA cables. Yeah, it's a nice. Yeah, and some of these are even this one has like a keyway for going in a particular drive that's got a little alcove in it or something. Yeah. I think I've got one of the gray ones was about the same length, but I don't really need to color code them either. There's a red cable that's just about the shortest, and that's 10 inches, maybe. And these are, of course, aligned a particular way. Now, I'm pretty sure that I've got the BIOS already enabled as a default. I think it should be in that AHCI, and that's just plastic. I mean, there's not any harm. I don't necessarily need to close the lid all the way, although accessing the DVD-ROM drive, yeah, just got to lock in there. And the way that those cables are folded, just want to make sure I'm not bumping. Okay, yeah, it's got a little plastic kind of retainer thing. Just have to make sure that that space there is kind of clear. And then switch my USB for the wireless keyboard and mouse. And of course, as soon as I power on, and I'll probably want to get to where okay, VGA, and they do have a display port connection on them as well. I don't need to connect in the drive yet, and as soon as I go through and power on, I want to get that drive in the DVD in the. Just looking on how to. What do I want to do for rearranging things here? No, that's not it. Okay. I don't want to get too small for you guys, just to kind of see what's going on. But well, it's not. How's that? I don't want to be out of the way of anything critical there too. And I'll get my keyboard so I can kind of see and pause things. Okay, let's go through. Power on. Of course, I guess it'd help if I'd have the okay. So there's our 64-bit version. Okay, I'm going to press enter to get into the settings. And when you press enter again, you can press enter to pause, just so you have a little bit more time. And there's the nice little menu for things. All I'm doing, and I'm going to get sitting down. Okay. And so, and this is, I didn't look at the other one to see, but it looks like it's version 54, and I have that version 77 for the I'm wondering if I should have, I got ISO burning devices. I guess I have that file on hard drive. I'll have to look. We can go through and we'll get Vista installed. I plan to upgrade the BIOS at some point later on. I mean, that's a good idea. See, that external SATA port is enabled, but I sure did not get anything plugged in. It just didn't seem like it wanted to recognize those docks. And those docks are older too, and that could be an issue where I tried with, I think, a terabyte drive in there on one of my docks, and it just said, nope, I don't recognize something, a drive that big. So this is the primary thing that we want, the SATA AHCI enabled. I don't think that we need to do any... See, and this is really strange. It always has the audio disabled as a default. And of course, everything else is enabled. And this is supposed to be the G45 Intel chipset for the display driver. All the USB enabled. Each of these things have a lot of ports. And everything else looks good. Okay. So there's your... And even when that dock is plugged into USB, I've looked at the BIOS on the other one, and it listed as a USB hard drive and identifies the drive size. So we didn't really change anything. Well, the audio. Change the audio. Okay, system is starting. Okay, I can hear that DVD drive. And it went right to it. Didn't have to do any pressing the key for startup. And we're right at 32 minutes of recording time. Still not too bad. I may go through if this takes any longer period of time, then I can pause it, or just so it doesn't really seem that boring or anything like that. Okay. English. Oh, that looks good. I doubt if I'm going to have to... Okay. And then we have the selections. So I'm going to go through and pause this. Not that there's really any scary thing or anything like that, but I've got since I'm not going to use the COA that's on the side of the system. That's a 32-bit, and that's on the flip side anyway. And one of the things I do with my phones now anyway is I go through and I go through and take pictures of the wow, it's got glare of the stickers, because it's a lot easier moving a sticker around on the screen to kind of zoom in on and see those little characters. But I'll go through and I'm going to pause the video, and because I've got to put in the code from this DVD pack. Okay. Back after doing that. And we're going to accept the license terms, of course. I may have to move my... Okay. And of course, upgrade has been disabled. We're installing a fresh copy. And with this, and I don't know if I have to prep. Well, apparently not. Wow, copying files that fast. I mean, I have SSDs on some of my new systems, not necessarily Windows, but this will be an experience for me under Vista to find out what exactly. Of course, expanding files, it's CPU intensive, so we'll find out how this Core Duo deals with it. And I'm actually going to go through, I think I'm going to pause just to keep on a good time frame. I mean, we're watching paint dry anyway. Watching it go through the process. Okay, and I think we are paused just about 8 minutes. And it went through, I was a little bit late to unpause it because as soon as it expanded the files at 100%, I didn't see the other installing features and doing the up. Maybe that's all after it reboots. But then it as you saw, just that last little bit, it prompted to restart. I think it'll continue. I think it'll continue once that process, once it reboots. Sets up your computer. Okay. Yeah, that for the installing features and installing updates and all that. And I can't remember how long this took for the 32-bit version either. If we go into any I hope this will be quick, but I don't have any idea. and just no idea what's going on behind the scenes here or what it's going to take. But and we're right at 40 minutes of recording time now. So I'm going to pause it. I'm going to wait till something else comes up before I unpause. Okay, and that was I had it paused about 2 or 3 minutes. Wasn't too bad. And I think I waited for about 2 or 3 minutes before I paused it when it was doing that completing installation anyway. So it's restarting. And I think this should drop us into Windows itself. I think the whole process is complete. And from here, it's just seeing what drivers are there. And I'll probably go through. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to do a password just so this thing boots up and it goes into automatically launches Windows. And I don't even necessarily think I have to give it a very complex password. But this is where you can go through and make it so it prompts for a password. With this, on the other one, I just did Vista Business PC. For the computer name, let's just do something like that, maybe. Desktop background. Let's just do something classic like that. Okay. And use recommended settings. We are and with wow, and this thing's still, I never went through and set any kind of the time once I gain these systems. I don't know how long that they were not in operation, but Windows Vista, they could have been several years. And I can't see buttons with where my picture is. It's thanking me for some reason. Getting it done just got more fun. And we are getting close to 44 minutes of recording time, so I think this should complete quickly enough. We might have about another hour long video. Getting everything on there, at least getting into Vista, and then I still have to see on drivers and things like that. I want to get the networking drivers, and the video drivers, just so I can make sure I see everything like it's supposed to be, and that I can get online. And I was going to go through and move. I don't think when Vista comes up, I don't think we need to worry about seeing the clock and all that up in that corner. And let me get up here would probably be a good position for me. Preparing your desktop. Okay. So definitely not not video drivers for, and not network drivers. We look down the lower corner and we see that we've got a wired connection in here, and audio output device. So, but we're doing good otherwise for the 8 gigabyte of RAM. Telling us all the CPU, everything else. So, let's go through, and I have to make sure I don't spark anything around. Let's go through. I'm going to plug in the SATA connection first to the external SATA port. We can probably close that lid up a little bit. Okay. And then let's power the drive up. And notice we didn't see anything. So let's plug in USB. Okay. So those docks, for some reason, maybe they're just too old. Okay. So first, to get where we can see things, let's get into our ThinkCentre 64-bit video. And there's our application, because I want to get to where, I mean, we can see everything on the screen real nice. And there's the 64-bit version. Okay, that's a good place. And 48 minutes of recording. Then I click on install. Okay. Okay, so, and then, you know, the big part of this is that, and you see this really, you know, some people hate it, or the aspect of Vista that they hate is the arrow theme to Vista. And that's going to be resources. I think I'm just going to go through and I'll run it as that. Next, to continue. Okay, and sure, we can restart. So yeah, I think with the video and the network drivers, and here's our boot time. Something to kind of watch for. And of course it's sensing that and delaying a little bit from that DVD disk in the drive. Where if you needed to go through and repair the system or something like that, you could press this any key to get into those utilities. Okay. And that looks about like the resolution. And of course, I'm going to go through and we can hide the welcome screen. And I might go through and put Firefox on here as well. Let's just go through briefly and look at the display. And is that I'm looking through all this glare too to guess. Okay. Just screen resolution. That's what I was looking for. Okay. And we're set right. That's what I wanted. Okay. And we'll go in and we're going to turn off the UAC at the appropriate point as well. But let's just go through. Let's get the network drivers on here. And some of these are universal between the 32-bit and 64-bit version. Okay. And we okay, we're wired in. We're wired in the network. And that may take who knows, that may take a reboot. It didn't prompt us for after that, but so next here, let's go ahead and turn off that UAC, and that's gonna make us do a reboot anyway. Okay. Coming up on 55 minutes of recording time. We'll see if we have network And Firefox is going to take a little bit of time to install. It might be time just to finally eject. And I even found there's a upgrade offer for Windows 7 in here too. So that was and it's still flagging that network. We have it all. The light link lights are lit. So I don't know what the deal is. Because I had thought the network discovery because I had thought that the with the 32-bit version, it was raring to go. And why did it turn on? Well, okay, that's sharing and manage network connections. And we have nothing. Why don't we have anything? Okay. Just going through and so 58 minutes and actually I wanted to get into device manager. Search automatically. That can sometimes take some time, but okay. Oh, I'm clicking on the cancel button. Okay, so browse. Okay. Yeah, normally this should do any subdirectory. Should do any subdirectory of the location. Okay, so that's what it took. All my stumblings there of drilling into okay. So we have things presented on the screen. It looks like we're finally online. And so last step, I just want to do that Firefox installation. Even though we're at a little bit over an hour now. But I want to go all the way to the point. I could get my mouse lined up. Default browser's fine. And launch Firefox. That was pretty quick. I don't want to... Microsoft Internet Explorer doesn't have anything anyway. So we are online. And this may even go through and prompt us to do the Google browser. Of course, one I guess one page I can bring up is that one. So, I know who that one patron is, by the way. Need to get more of them. So, we're up. We're online. That is a Windows Vista 64-bit installation. We didn't need those drivers on that hard drive in the dock. That's an easy way to have that stuff saved away and transferred over. Who knows about that eSATA connector, but we are doing good. So if you like this video, like this content, click on that like button. And there'll be a lot more content. This is going a little bit new. Not necessarily vintage systems, definitely a step up above PS2, and even in a time frame that I think this is the highest Firefox we can go to, but I'll check that. Otherwise, it's locked in. You can only go through so many versions with Vista now. But yeah, it is a Lenovo system. After Lenovo bought the PC business off IBM, although IBM had ThinkCentres in the style before that. That'll be the next system that I'll be working on. Try and get that fan so I can get that in there. And I'll probably have to reinstall the Windows XP for that. So we might do an installation video for that as well. to get that system going. And that has a diskette drive, and that'll open opportunities to do like reference diskettes here for the NCR systems and also the IBM systems. So stay tuned for that. But all in all, I think a pretty good video. Got the system gone online. I'll have to do some more nuances, but we've got that running otherwise. So like and subscribe to my channel if you can as well. Please pass the word around for that. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.